Welcome to the Pencil Bob channel. I hope you enjoy my stories. Please like and subscribe, and hit that notification icon so you never miss out. Now on with the stories.
Alright, so here's the deal. I never thought I'd be the guy complaining about a homeowners association, but here I am, living what feels like a bad sitcom plot. Let me tell you how my wife and I ended up in this mess. A few years back, we decided to make this big move for our careers. You know how it goes. New job, new state, new everything. We were pretty pumped about it, to be honest. I mean, who doesn't love a fresh start, right? Anyway, while we were getting settled, my father-in-law, bless his heart, offered to let us rent his vacation condo in the area. Talk about convenient, right? So we move in, and let me tell you, this place was sweet. Like, seriously sweet. We're talking ocean views, a balcony perfect for morning coffee, the whole 9 yards. My wife and I, we fell head over heels for this place. It was like living in a permanent vacation spot. One day, we casually mentioned to her dad how much we loved it. And get this, he offers to sell it to us, not just sell it, but at a price that wouldn't require us to sell our kidneys on the black market. I'm talking way below market value. At first, I thought he was joking, but nope, he was dead serious. Looking back, I'm pretty sure he had his own motives. I mean, he probably figured that as his daughter's place, he'd still get to come down every summer and hang out for weeks on end. But hey, who was I to look a gift horse in the mouth? We were about to become homeowners, or condo owners, whatever. Do you know how rare that is for millennials these days? It's like finding a unicorn riding a dinosaur. Now, I'll admit we did have one tiny reservation. The condo was part of a homeowners association. You know, one of those HOAs you hear horror stories about. But her dad had never had any issues with them, and they'd pretty much ignored us the whole time we'd been renting. So we figured, how bad could it be? Oh, sweet summer child that I was. The second, and I mean the literal second, we signed those papers and became owners. It was like we'd stepped into the twilight zone. The HOA, which had been perfectly content to pretend we didn't exist before, suddenly developed what I can only describe as a burning, passionate hatred for us. I swear we can't do anything without it becoming a violation. We put out a welcome mat, you know, like normal friendly people do. Bam, citation for excessive clutter. I didn't realize a 2x3 foot piece of fabric qualified as clutter, but apparently in HOA land it does. Then there was the great deck furniture debacle of 23. We bought this nice patio set, nothing fancy, just a table and some chairs. Wrong move, buddy. Turns out our furniture was the wrong color. I didn't realize there was an approved color palette for outdoor furniture, but live and learn, I guess. And don't even get me started on having friends over. Every time we have people around, we get slapped with a noise complaint. I'm not talking wild parties here. I mean a couple of friends over for dinner and board games. Apparently, in this building, laughter is a noise violation. Who knew? But the cherry on top of this ridiculous sundae, they tried to pin a water leak on us. Yeah, you heard that right. One day, out of the blue, we get this notice saying that the apartment below us was reporting water coming from the ceiling. Now, I'm no plumber, but I'm pretty sure I'd notice if our floor was wet enough to be leaking through to the apartment below. We checked. Bone dry. The kicker, less than a week later, that same apartment was rented out to someone else. Miraculously, the leak had disappeared. But did we get an apology? No, instead we got threats of fines and lawsuits. Because apparently that's how adults communicate in HOA world. Now, I should probably mention that my wife and I are in our 30s. We're not exactly spring chickens, but in this building, we might as well be teenagers. Everyone else here is retired. I'm talking full-on early bird special, watching Wheel of Fortune every night retired. And that's when it hit me. They're trying to force us out. They want this to be an all-boomer building, and we're messing up their vibe. It's the only explanation I can come up with for why they were fine with us renting from my father-in-law, who's 70 by the way, but can't stand us as owners. Oh, and let's not forget the cherry on top of this whole mess. The HOA president, this guy who looks like he stepped out of a 1950s sitcom, keeps referring to my wife as Chinese. Now, my wife is from the Philippines, and she's always been clear about that. But this guy, nope. In his mind, all Asians are apparently Chinese. I know, in the grand scheme of things, it's not the worst form of racism out there. But it's still clearly intentional, and it's just another way they're trying to make us feel unwelcome. It's like they're playing this game of, how can we be jerks without actually breaking any laws? The worst part is, we love this condo. We love the area. We were so excited about making this our home, about building a life here. But now it feels like we're constantly walking on eggshells in our own home. We can't relax, can't enjoy ourselves, because we're always waiting for the next ridiculous violation to be thrown our way. And you know what really gets me? We're good neighbors. We're quiet. We keep the place clean. We're friendly. Or at least we try to be, despite the constant hostility. We're not the stereotypical young people they seem to think we are. But none of that matters to the HOA. In their eyes, we're the enemy, and they're determined to make our lives miserable until we give up and leave. Some days I wonder if we should just cut our losses and sell the place. But then I think about how much we love it here, how hard we work to get this place, and I get angry all over again. Why should we have to leave just because a bunch of retirees can't handle having younger neighbors? So here we are, stuck in this ridiculous situation, trying to figure out how to coexist with people who seem determined to hate us. Everything is our fault, apparently. Put out a welcome mat, our fault. Have friends over, our fault. Exist as people under 60, definitely our fault. I don't know how this is going to end. Maybe we'll find a way to make peace with the HOA. Maybe they'll eventually realize we're not the demons they think we are. Or maybe we'll end up in some sort of condo Cold War for the next few decades. At this point, your guess is as good as mine. All I know is, if I ever hear anyone say, "How bad could an HOA really be?" again, I'm going to have a lot of stories to tell them. And maybe, just maybe, I'll invest in some gray hair dye. Who knows, it might be our only chance at fitting in around here. The Civil Rights Department, CRD, previously known as the Department of Fair Employment and Housing, DFEH, provides a complaint form on their website for individuals who believe they have experienced discrimination, including from homeowners associations, HOAs. This form can be used to report instances where HOAs are alleged to have selectively harassed or discriminated against members based on protected characteristics such as age, race, disability, national origin, religion, sexual orientation, or other factors covered by California's Fair Housing Laws 1-3. The complaint process allows individuals to formally report discriminatory practices in housing, including those perpetrated by HOAs. Once filed, the CRD evaluates the complaint to determine if it falls within their jurisdiction. If accepted, the department may investigate the allegations, attempt mediation between parties, or potentially pursue legal action if evidence supports a reasonable cause determination 1-2. This process serves as an important mechanism for enforcing civil rights laws and addressing discriminatory practices in housing communities, ensuring that HOAs comply with fair housing regulations and treat all members equitably. What exactly is the discrimination? If you want to use that form, start and gather picture evidence that everyone else has a doormat, that everyone else has similar deck furniture colors to yours. If there's actually a rule about furniture neutrality and everyone else has neutral colors, you aren't going to go far with a discrimination complaint. We got noise complaints from the neighbors who hate us, but they stop when we quickly reciprocated. We aren't in an HOA. Where I live, people call the police about noise. And yes, there's lots of deniable racism, but going to federal court and attempting to redress it legally is quite difficult and time-consuming. Better to be active in your actual HOA. Vote the effers out, one by one. Federal, yes. But I can personally attest that states have their own laws regarding discrimination, and HOAs are a prime target. I once saw an HOA get sued because they posted a sign prohibiting children from playing in the street. The sign was allegedly ageist because it was only barring children from playing and not anyone else. "99% done and can't move in." For context, my partner M23 and I, F24, both grew up in Queens our whole lives, in tiny, crappy apartments infested with anything and everything. Nightmare neighbors, break-ins and all that. We've known each other since middle school and been together as a couple for almost 7 years. So our ultimate American dream was to have the nice big house with a yard and a pool. Originally, we were just going to rent an apartment together, but we decided to buy a house together. I know people are going to say stuff like don't buy a house if you're not married and all that. We plan on getting engaged and getting married in the near future, and neither are stepping out or planning on stepping out of the relationship. Regardless of that, we went house searching, looked at a bunch of houses, and just when we were going to give up, I found the perfect house. We did everything relatively quick in terms of giving our offers and signing contracts and all that. First problem was the original bank we worked with screwed us over, told us we could buy originally, and then kept dragging shit on for about 6 months, and they said they were pretty much done with the file. Second problem, turns out they lied. So we took the file and gave it to bank. Everything was going smoothly, but they too took a long time to process and do everything. Turns out the person in charge of our loan was messing with people and created issues for certain people, i.e., flagging a whole bunch of crap, where in the end the person was telling us to basically give him money so he would process our loan and all that. When the manager of that branch found out, we got a call from them, and they said this person was purposefully messing with our file and that they would fire them, 2 people at the bank involved, because they rejected other qualified people's loans too. So our file had to be completely redone by a new person, and they said it was taking time because the previous person at the bank flagged any and everything on our file before they got fired. So by this point, I think we were 1 year in from when we first signed contracts. Mind you, in NY, most residential houses take 3 to 4 months to close if you're getting a mortgage. At the time, we didn't pay too much attention because it was right after COVID and everyone kept telling us that all the banks were backed up, so we had to wait. So after everything with the bank got resolved. Third problem, the sellers vacated already, and they let one of their relatives stay there because they didn't want an empty house because squatting is a big issue in NY. Well, turns out that Mofo became the squatter. Good thing it was in a county where they got rid of him in like a month. But this person had the audacity to get a lawyer and these things saying we can't force him out. The sellers were able to get him out because he owned no part of the house and he had his own place nearby. Then we found out the mofo hired a construction company to do work inside the house and neglected to tell anyone, and he skipped the country and left the sellers with a $50,000 bill that they never knew about. The construction company comes and demanded $50,000 from the sellers. They said we never hired you, which they were right. So the construction company filed a lien against the house, meaning no one could occupy and live in the house. The sellers were able to settle it with them. You would think we could move in. This was last November 2023. One of the attorneys told us we would get the house by Christmas. That was a lie. Problem 4, because of the squatting situation, the town now has more measures as to who's buying or living within the town. We had to sign so much paperwork for the county and the new laws and regulations, and we had to wait for a person in that town to sign off on our purchase to confirm or something. This mofo decided to go on vacation and didn't do his job, which prolonged our wait to like 6 weeks because he went on vacation. When he got back, we thought we're good. Well, not exactly. My partner went through a few Zoom interviews where this group of people who ran the town asked him everything about his character. Forgot to mention he's Indian but looks Italian or Greek, I'm Chinese. And all this stuff that has nothing to do with the house. Everything seemed fine, they were nice. Now the last few weeks we've been waiting for like a COA, which allows us to live in the house. They finally sent the certificate of occupancy after delaying that for weeks, months, who knows. Then final cherry on top, town decides to spring some shit on us saying that we're trying to implement an HOA. When we looked for houses, we specially look for non-HOA houses because who has time or money for nosy people? They're almost trying to force that stuff on us. My partner and I are so defeated from this process because it will literally be 2 years since we first looked at that house. We have no intention of signing it because this was never an HOA to begin with. FYI, my partner and I don't come from money, so there's no family trust fund, but we did borrow a small sum from family that went into this. No one else in our family or in our inner circle have bought a house or in the process of buying one, so we've just been keeping most of our struggles with this deal to ourselves because no one else understands. Sorry for the crazy long rant. I remember reading a story about a couple who was buying a condo. All these issues with the process, and then they finally got all those fixed, and they were about to go sign and close. Well, what happens right before they were about to sign? The building collapsed. It was that condo building in Surfside just outside Miami. So yeah, listen to the signs. I agree with you. I'm sorry you've had all this trouble in what should be an exciting event. I'm just confused because this story does not include any events involving an HOA, let alone one being tyrannical, shady, underhanded, incompetent, or any of the traits they typically encompass. Screw the people who did terrible jobs and created delays, screw the squatter messing things up, and screw the town for trying to install another shitty HOA. However, there's nothing here to lend itself to this sub. It seems you're facing a significant dilemma with this problematic property. The numerous issues you've encountered strongly suggest that this house may not be the right fit for you. and it might be in your best interest to cut your losses and walk away as soon as possible. The constant stream of challenges and setbacks you've experienced during the acquisition process could be interpreted as a series of red flags, warning you against proceeding with this purchase. If, after careful consideration, you still decide to move forward and take up residence in this house, I sincerely hope that your situation improves dramatically. It would be wonderful if the problems you've faced so far turn out to be temporary hurdles that smooth out once you're settled in. However, given the extent of the difficulties you've already encountered, it's crucial to seriously reconsider whether living in a place that has caused you so much stress and frustration is truly the right decision for your long-term well-being and peace of mind. Remember, a home should be a sanctuary, not a source of constant worry and strife. If the process of acquiring this property has been this tumultuous, it's worth pondering whether these issues might persist or even worsen once you're actually living there. Sometimes, what seems like a series of unfortunate events is actually a blessing in disguise, steering you away from a potentially larger mistake. Take some time to reflect on your priorities, long-term goals, and what you truly want in a home before making your final decision.
I would like to thank you for watching the video to the end. To encourage us to make more videos, please like, subscribe, comment, as well as share. Check out this other video if you haven't already.